Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Inside your spotlight this morning, we took a shine on the role and the function of the Police Complaints Authority. To do so, I want to welcome the Director of the Police Complaints Authority, Mr. David West. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Rokas.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, a little rainy, but it's...
Yes, a nice wet morning, but we give thanks for the rain, and we give thanks for you being here and making it through the rain.
Sure, of course.
Shall we start with the role and function of the Police Complaints Authority?
Sure. The Police Complaints Authority is an independent civilian oversight body. So we are independent and civilian oversight body. So I want you to understand that, in that we are independent and we only have civilians working in the Police Complaints Authority. So I know a lot of people get confused with Police Complaints Authority, but we are an oversight body with only civilians working for us.
So who does the Police Complaints Authority report to?
Reports to Parliament.
Okay, directly
to Parliament. I have a line minister, which is the Attorney General, but that is for when we want to get, for example, he puts our budget through Parliament.
Right.
But in terms of our carrying out our day-to-day functions, we don't report to anybody, all right? Nobody can tell us what matters to investigate or what matters not to investigate. So, for example, in Parliament, when we go before Parliament, sometimes we ask about our budget and our operations, and that's fine. You know, so we are Parliament does oversee us, but they don't get directly involved in our functions.
Okay, understood. So you mentioned, all right, so nobody can tell you what to investigate or what to not investigate.
Correct.
So how does that decision come about?
Well, it comes about by you, the public, making a complaint. And there are several ways in which you can make a complaint to the PCA. You can walk into us at Tower D, level 24, or in Scarborough in Bacalet. We have an office there also. More importantly, we have an app which you can download, and you can make your complaints through the app, where you can attach a statement, you can attach a file of a photograph or a video, okay? You can email us at info@pca.org.tt, or you can go to our webpage at www.pca.org.tt and download our statement and send it in. And when we get all those documents, once we understand that a valid complaint has been made against the police, then we will initiate it, and our investigators will go out and investigate the complaint.
Okay, so I bet you have civilian investigators.
Civilian investigators, yes.
All right, fantastic. So tell me, what does the reports look like at the PCA? Like, as in, can you give me data for the last year or 2 years or 5 years?
Sure, I have it here, and I don't want to, make a mistake. So
I wouldn't want that.
Exactly. So, okay. So, for example, for the past reporting year, okay, we had a total number of 647 initial reports.
Okay.
Now, an initial report is when somebody comes in and makes a report. Now, it may or may not fall within our remit.
Okay.
That means what we can investigate, because we are governed by statute. So, for example, we can look at any criminal offense involving a police officer, any disciplinary offense involving a police officer, and any police corruption. So It's quite wide.
And I was saying, so what you can't investigate then, because that sounds like almost everything that could go wrong.
Well, sometimes it's a minor, for example, if a police officer, I guess maybe talks hard to you or something. Something small.
Okay.
We won't investigate that.
Right.
But of course, if he uses obscene language, well, that's a criminal offense.
That's a charge,
yes.
Right.
So what we tend to sift through. Sometimes people make a report thinking that the police officer, like the Coast Guard, we have no jurisdiction over a Coast Guard or Defense Force. So it's only TTPS police officers, municipal police officers, and SRP police officers we can investigate.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah, understood. So you said
647
initial reports.
Right.
And out of those, how many were serious?
423.
Okay. And they were investigated.
And they were investigated.
And what happens after the investigations?
So what happens is that somebody comes in and makes a complaint. It's within remit. We write a letter saying your complaint is within remit. This is the investigator's number. You can contact him at any time to see what's going on with your matter. All right? He investigates the matter. It goes to our legal department to make sure that what the offense, for example, it's shooting with intent or it's a disciplinary offense, the evidence, we need evidence, independent evidence, has to make sure that it correlates to the offense. Once that happens, the legal department then writes to the authority, that's the deputy director and myself, in a memorandum and a file with all the evidence, the statements, the forensic evidence, the footage, the video footage, whatever have you.
Right.
And then they decide whether or not the matter is within remit and whether or not the offense has been made out. If it has been made out, we then look through the file. So we, the authority, then go through the whole file in its entirety again, looking at every matter to make sure that when we make a referral, it's a valid referral.
Right.
So if it's a criminal matter, we make a referral to the DPP's office. If it's a disciplinary offense, we make a referral to the Commissioner of Police.
Okay.
All right.
So you all don't also, you can't persecute anybody. You just do the investigation.
Prosecute.
Sorry. You can't prosecute anybody.
No, we don't prosecute anybody.
So you get the investigation done,
right.
and you give the information to the relevant person
right.
to prosecute.
Yes.
Okay. If it is that we have 423 that were valid and being investigated,
yes.
How long do these investigations take?
Well, it varies.
Right.
Now, what we do, in Trinidad, we have something called a summary offense, where it's a lesser offense like obscene language, where you have 6 months within which to lay the charge.
Right.
So what we do is we tell our investigators we want the matter done in 4 months, so we can then refer it to the DPP's office. So he has 2 months to do his investigations and to decide whether or not to lay a charge or not.
Okay.
So it depends on sometimes, for example, when you have a police-involved shooting, that may take a longer because, of course, we need to rely on evidence from the Forensic Science Center and other outside bodies and the PCA itself. So therefore, it takes a little longer. It could take up to a year to investigate.
Wow. So out of the over 400 that you mentioned just now, how many of them have been solved or sent for referral, rather?
So I can tell you that last year, 37 matters. Now, this is not out of the 423, right? This is numbers
that might have been from before as well.
Right. So 37 matters have gone to the Commissioner of Police. This isn't any one annual reporting year, okay, from September to October.
Okay.
8 matters went to the DPP, and 5 matters went to both DPP and COP. Okay. But since 2020, 222 matters have gone to the COP, 73 matters have gone to the DPP, and 31 matters have gone to both COP and DPP. All right.
So we're seeing some activity. We're seeing some situations being resolved. Do you all follow up at all to see what happens after it goes to the DPP or the COP?
Well, in the amendment to the PCA Act, because what happened was we realized that we didn't have follow-up. There wasn't a mechanism because, of course, the complainants wanted to know, well, what happened to our matter?
Well, exactly.
So Parliament, in its wisdom, agreed with our recommendations. So therefore, every 3 months, we can follow up with the DPP and COP to say what's happening. So we write a letter, and they give us an update on where their investigation in order to lay a charge has reached or not.
So you have that data for me as well?
No, I don't have that data, unfortunately.
Okay. Because I think people are always concerned that if I make a report, what happens afterwards?
Exactly.
Yes, you can do your investigations and you can find all the wrong things.
Yeah.
But if you send it to the COP office, do you still have any say in that? Do we get feedback on that as the complainants, for example?
Well, I can tell you the police officers know me very well, and they know I have been following up on matters, and the DPP knows that I do follow up on matters to make sure that it's moving in the right direction. So I can tell the complainant, listen, although our remit is officially finished, once a referral is made, we can then tell them, listen, it's by X or Y, it's going to happen, or what's going on. So we do keep them in touch.
Are the complainants allowed to remain anonymous? Or do they have to?
Yes, that's a very good question. Thanks for asking. You can make an anonymous complaint, also to the PCA.
But how do I follow up on an anonymous complaint?
Well, what happens is that, obviously, if it's anonymous, we look at the facts that you give us, and we start the investigation. Now, sometimes, we're going to have to get your name to do a statement or do a follow-up.
Right.
But then, of course, if you remain anonymous, well, then we can't do it.
Right.
But sometimes many times the anonymous complaints is more or less comes out in a recommendation. That's something like we also give advice to the police so that they should have done X or Y. They should have been more polite, or they don't have any receipt books in the police station. Or many times people go to one police station and say, no, your accident happened in San Fernando. You have to go down San Fernando to make the report.
Even though there's been a wide campaign saying it's a one-door policy.
Exactly.
Very, very interesting stuff. I wanted to find out about the 8 body cameras that you all leased at the PCA.
Sure.
What is the intent of those and how has it been going so far?
Right. So, well, the 8 body cameras have been going very well so far. And, it's a way, what we want to try and move away, we want to try and move to digital, more forensic evidence. We don't want to rely on a statement only and a witness only. So when you have the body camera, what we do is when we go to a scene, all right, for example, many people talk a lot, so we can get all that on camera.
Okay.
We also get a very wide footage so we can understand the terrain and what's happening. And when the public sees that, they realize that these people are serious and they want to get the evidence. And when the investigator takes the camera, he also can take more detailed statements because he doesn't have to rely on both seeing what they hear and writing down.
Yeah.
He can look and he can focus on one thing.
And you can go back and check the review and
Exactly.
get the more information.
And more importantly, the evidence that we gather from the camera can be used in court. Right,
nice.
under the Evidence Act, right? That video evidence
But
can be.
is it only the video evidence from those body cameras, or can you use video evidence regardless?
Well, you could use video evidence regardless,
Right.
but our investigators have the video evidence on them when they do the interviews with the public.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Understood. Now, you've been there since 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, yes.
Have you seen any differences in the amount of complaints that come in from year to year?
Yeah, the complaints have increased. They have increased, by quite a bit. Of course, Central Police Station has been a recurring offender as very high. Northern is very high, and Southern Division is very high in terms of
But as the whole
complaints.
country, everybody except Tobago?
Tobago doesn't have many, but yeah.
Okay.
But Central has a lot of complaints.
What do you think contributes to the rise in the reports?
Well, I'll have to. We have not dug down into the data for that. But what I can tell you is that because we've been more visible, and you can reach us in many ways. You don't have to come in physically. You can, I said, you can use the app, and you can use your phone and email us, okay, or use the app.
Right.
It works. In that, during COVID, for example, we had the app running, and we got all our complaints in the app. But what happened was, what we told the people was that, we have your complaint, but of course we couldn't go out to investigate.
Because of COVID, right.
So as soon as the COVID rules were lifted, we were able to then start the investigations in order of the complaints or the seriousness of the complaints that came in.
But by that point, I guess you have a backlog as well.
Exactly. So we had a huge backlog to work with. But of course, with the diligent work of the staff and stuff, the backlog has come down now.
Nice.
But they had a backlog, and we worked through the backlog.
All right, just one quick question before we wrap. I understand that you're going to you mentioned visibility, and I heard that you're going to have some more visibility coming soon, some more public awareness,
Yes.
especially about the rights of citizens under the PCA.
Yeah.
When can we expect that campaign to
But the
start?
first week in July, we're going to head, as I said, Central. We want to go to Central because we want to let the public know that you have the PCA and what we can do for you.
Right.
In the second week, we're going to go to Eastern Division, to Northern Division, sorry. Right, we're going to try and get City Hall, where we can talk to everybody so everybody could come in and hear what the PCA has.
Would they be able to make complaints or lodge complaints there as well?
Yes. What we do in our outreach programs, we have investigators and our legal department there on spot ready to take complaints.
All right.
And finally, the last week in July, we're going to hope to go into San Fernando and again do the same outreach program.
Fantastic. Well, let me thank you so much for joining us this morning, Mr. West, and for sharing this information. I think it's very valuable that people are a little bit more aware of what the Police Complaints Authority can do and how they can reach out to you. So please feel free to head across to pca.org.tt. You can email them at info@pca.org.tt as well, and give them a call at 226-4PCA. Check out the app. Get any way that you want to connect with the Police Complaints Authority if you have a complaint to make. David West, the Director of Police Complaints Authority, thank you again for joining us this morning, and all the best for the rest of the day.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. We take a quick break and come back with more on the Now Morning Show. Stay tuned.